What's up everyone? So in today's video, it's finally time to go over the issue that I've been having with my Tacoma. Hopefully you guys have been following along and falling off my dashboard there as well. But if you haven't been following along, I'm going to play a GoPro clip of what I'm talking about. So with that noise, I immediately obviously knew it was the front driver's side. I wasn't sure where to start. I figured it was a CV axle. Somehow the CV axle blew or went out, and only having about 1,000 miles on the lift kit for the truck and having about 11,000 miles on the truck itself, it was almost mind-blowing that something could go out that quickly. That noise, as you saw, was in a straight line. If the wheels were turned hard left or hard right, I would immediately know it was a CV axle because on a lot of front wheel drive vehicles, when you make hard turns and you hear that clicking sound, that's the CV axle. So I knew it wasn't that. I was still getting power to the front wheels, putting it in 4 low and 4 high and all that. Part of me knew it could have been the CV axles, but not that they went out, but that I needed to possibly do that differential drop kit, which I did. I installed that, figuring that that would solve this issue. I had a diff drop on my 2nd gen Tacoma. I figured I didn't do it on the 3rd gen because it didn't come with the kit that I bought. And a lot of people were saying the 3rd gen is much different than the 2nd gen. I'm not sure how the transfer case and all that, the differential is different from the 2nd gen. But I figured I had that on day 1 on my 2nd gen. Let me order it, put it on this. That's gonna solve the issue. So I put it on, do the same tests, just driving around, and it didn't change anything. So I was messing around with it, installing it, and taking it out too to see if anything changed. Long story short, the noise was still there regardless of the diff drop. I do currently have the diff drop on the truck right now. I think it's a good idea just simply because the CV axles are pretty much at the same angle they were at stock. Ground clearance is really not an issue. Yes, you're lowering the second or the back skid plate down with spacers, so it's about 1 inch, but the jack point up front is still lower than the skid plates. So technically you're not really sacrificing that much in ground clearance, and I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna keep them in simply because of the experience I had with my 2nd gen. I had that truck 8 years, diff drop up front, 0 issues with it. So I'm gonna keep it in for now. If anything changes, I'll definitely update you guys. So right now we're still having the noise. I have the diff drop in. I'm checking and retorquing everything. Everything looks fine. All the bolts are torqued properly. I'm looking at the lower control arm bolts from the previous alignment or the alignment that I got. A lot of you guys were helping me out and I appreciate it with comments on what to check here and there. So now it's time to really focus in on what this issue could be. It has nothing to do with the lift. It's not the new upper control arms that I put in. It's not the new struts. It's not a squeaking noise. It's like a hard grinding noise, and it's rotational, if you can hear from that clip that I played. So it's something that has to do with the CV axle or the wheel and tire. Those are really the only rotational components up front. And so now what do? A lot of people commented that it was the needle bearing. On the 2nd and 3rd gen Tacomas, there's a needle bearing. It's just on the driver's side. So if you're looking at the CV axle, it's not the side where the wheel and tire and the hub assembly is. It's up near the differential. And so the needle bearing is this metal kind of cylinder looking shape that's inside on that side boot of the CV axle. And I actually have my one from my 2nd gen. I don't have it with me to show you guys, but there's a company that replaces that with a polyurethane one, I believe. It's just a little bit different diameter and shape that solves that vibrating or grinding issue. So I was like, man, I really don't want to do that simply because it's a lot of work to do yourself. I'm not sure if that's something I would tackle myself because you pretty much have to take the whole brake assembly out in order to slide that out. And there is some potential risks in damaging the CV axle if you don't do it properly. So I know a company to go to for it. I would just have to drive a good bit who did the needle bearing on my 2nd gen. So it really boiled down to that had to be the issue. I pretty much eliminated everything else. However, putting the truck into 4 high or 4 low still had that noise. Usually you can tell the needle bearing is bad because you put it into 4-wheel drive or high or low and it goes away, and it didn't. So now I'm back to square one. What in the world could this issue be? I don't like my vehicles not operating correctly. I do all the research so I know that I'm having a truck that's going to operate the way I want it to and not have any hiccups. Of course, when you lift any kind of vehicle, there are potential risks for something to go wrong. So it's not something that I was surprised about, I guess you could say, but it wasn't something I was expecting. Having this kind of issue on a 3-inch lift, it really shouldn't be there. I'm not changing that much. I'm not cutting the cross members and really changing the geometry of the whole truck and the ride and everything. So it's something where I'm not even listening to the radio. I got my window down with my head out, trying to listen to this noise and just pinpoint exactly what the issue is. So I'm not getting anywhere, and the final thing that I wanted to do this is all before I wanted to take it for somebody to look at, and I didn't want to spend, $80, $100, whatever their labor fee was, and I could have done it myself. So the last resort that I did was taking the wheel and tire off and actually checking the hub. Without the wheel and tire, it's much easier to do. That's something that I hadn't done just yet because I just wanted to drive the truck and see if I could pinpoint it by listening to it. So that didn't work. Took it off, was spinning the hub. I still heard the noise. Now it's hard to explain this to you guys because I already know what was wrong with the truck, but at the time spinning that hub, it moved freely. If it was a CV axle issue, it would have stopped moving because I had that issue when I lifted my second gen and went to a 6-inch lift. The CV axles actually binded up and stopped freely spinning. So it was freely spinning. It was hard to do because the wheel wasn't on, but with the wheels on, I could easily spin it and the wheels would just freely move. So I knew it really couldn't have been the actual CV axle itself. So in spinning it, I could still hear that grinding noise. And I guess from my perspective now, it kind of echoes down there. And I really thought it was the needle bearing side. Just spinning it, placing my ear near it, and you could hear a faint grinding noise. What I didn't show any of you guys off camera was I put the wheel back on. In one of my videos I said, I'm just gonna put the wheel and tire back on, think about it, and just, still try to figure this out. But again, what I didn't show was after I did that, driving the truck, it went away. The noise went away. And I'm gonna show you guys a GoPro clip of how it sounds now. And I was shocked. Something had to be caught behind the brake cover disc. I mean, I've taken this off-road, so there had to be a rock, dirt, something was grinding behind maybe the hub assembly with the lugs and the wheel itself. I've had this horrible grinding noise where I felt like my truck was broken. It was hard to drive my truck really anywhere because I didn't know if I was doing any more damage and it turns out nothing fell out that I remember seeing. But yeah, my Tacoma is fixed. I have 0 issues with it. And it was a false alarm due to some kind of grime, dirt, whatever it may be. So if you guys are triggered, I'm there with you. It's not like I made this just to say my truck broke and just kidding. It's been a couple weeks of just trial and error on what this problem and what this issue was. Because you buy a brand new truck, you do all the research to put a lift on it, then you get this. And it's frustrating, it really is. So to do all that work and then something go wrong, it's all part of it, unfortunately. Some kind of dirt decided to get stuck and made me go through this experience. So other than that, my truck is great. The lift is great. I love the setup. Hopefully I don't have any other issues. I need to do a better job at cleaning the truck after I take it in the mud. As you guys saw in the beginning of the video, it's definitely gonna need a good cleaning up underneath. So that's it. The truck is fixed. Miracle that it wasn't anything catastrophic or having to replace parts. So I'm gonna keep the differential drop again. That was a $40 kit. Like I said, I had it on my second gen, so I'm gonna keep it and see how it does. I hope you guys enjoyed that update on the Tacoma. It's fixed. And I'm definitely gonna have a lot more plans for it, a lot more off-road adventures, and a lot more detailing and cleaning it after those adventures. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next video.